Good morning. Welcome back to Chicago's Morning Answer. Amy Jacobson here. John Anthony and
Eh,
for Dan Croft. Are you having fun yet?
I am.
Are we
It's the
learning a
last
lot?
hour. Yeah, it's the last hour already.
Where'd the time go?
No idea.
We talk about it a lot on this show, critical race theory.
Mhm.
And the Daily Herald wrote an article over the weekend talking about that it's really not that bad. In suburban schools that are using it, it's not that bad. And parents shouldn't be upset about critical race theory. And with more on that, let's welcome back to the program Daniel Suhr. He's managing attorney for Liberty Justice Center. Truth be told, he represented me when I was having my spat with Governor Pritzker, and he kicked me out of the
Nice.
press conference. So he's done a great job getting me my press pass back and other things. Good morning, Daniel. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Amy. I am great. Thanks for having me on.
Yes.
Morning.
So tell me why suburban schools. I mean, seems to be a lightning rod issue about critical race theory, but why do they think it's not that bad?
I think they always play this shell game with parents, Amy, where school districts say, oh, it's not critical race theory. We're doing culturally responsive teaching, or we're just updating our social emotional learning standards, right? They play this shell game where they say, we're not actually doing critical race theory. That's for college kids. That's for law schools. We're just doing these other normal things. And the reality is, it's absolutely critical race theory. They just know that parents are going to be outraged if they find out what they're actually teaching their kids. And so they slap these labels on it to try to disguise it and confuse parents. And when parents find out, they are absolutely outraged, and they're right to be.
Well, give us some examples. I mean, how is Black history being taught in schools, and in what context?
Yeah, I'll give you a great example. I have a client I represent who's a high school senior. He shows up to the first day of high school required class on democracy and citizenship.
Okay.
And his teacher starts out class by saying, "Good morning, my wonderful social justice warriors."
Whoa. All right.
And through the rest of the class, and we have the PowerPoint presentations that she used. They're in evidence in this case. Through the rest of the class, she talked about intersectionality. She made the students disclose to the other students their individual, like personal identities.
Pronouns.
She would say we have a lot of unlearning to do. So that family reinforces homophobic and racist ideologies. The reality is she's the one with the racist ideology. She was the one who was classifying students based on their race and labeling them either as a dominant and an oppressor or as a submissive race or a person from a submissive background. And all that does it just ruins our kids. It just gives them all these lies, and it tells them to treat each other differently based on their skin color rather than appreciating who they are as individuals. It's wrong, and parents are right to try to stop it.
It's true because I'm black. I have raised 6 black kids, but I've never once taught them anything about their skin color. That it defined who they were.
Hmm.
So but I look at this. When you look at critical race theory and how it was the foundation of it, it was attorneys and judges getting together to figure out how much systemic what's happening in the criminal justice system. Are there issues that we need to talk about? But so I think so many people don't really understand what's happening with critical race theory and culturally responsive learning, because they're conflating another. They love to conflate. See, progressive. You know when there's a progressive because they conflate things. They
Hmm.
bring an
Hmm.
issue that's really emotional and an issue that they really want to get past, and they bring them together. Um, the problem is not so much that people are teaching about Black history. The issue, in my opinion, becomes when you make somebody who's white evil, because you're born white. You're evil. Well, that makes me half evil. My dad was white, right? So when I look at places like especially the state of Illinois, not allowing a Turning Point chapter in a Chicago public school, but
Yeah, Taft High
BLM,
School.
yeah, BLM, and all these other groups, whatever pronoun you want to fall under, they're allowed. But Turning Points, they don't meet our moral objectives. What are the moral objectives? How do we define what that is? That's my question for you, sir.
Yeah, John, you're absolutely putting your finger on the right point. That one of the corollaries to critical race theory is a whole new approach to the speech police in schools.
Yes.
That one of the things that I think is core to critical race theory is this idea that wrong think, right, that having the wrong thoughts and opinions can be so harmful to someone else that you can't say it out loud. That it's that having what we would consider to be mainstream political or religious views has become hate speech, and that we as a school are authorized to suppress hate speech. And so a group like Turning Point that we would look at and say, oh, they're part of the mainstream of American political discourse, like all of a sudden they have to be pushed out and stopped from being in a school. And the irony then is, in the name of inclusivity, we actually exclude people.
Right.
In the name of
Yeah.
diversity,
Yeah.
we actually reduce the number of diverse opinions within our school community. We say to some students, your views, your opinions, your faith, they're not welcome here. Don't speak up with it because it might hurt somebody else's feelings.
Well,
And that's just wrong. America is built on a marketplace of ideas where we can all come to the table and share what we believe. And if we think someone's wrong, then, it's that classic line, I think you're wrong, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. We've lost that in
Amen.
our schools.
that's so true. So let's move over to District 203 in Naperville. They have some equity director, or what's all that about?
Yeah, equity is just one of these labels that we use for this whole ideology, diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI. And I think it's telling that we now have full-time bureaucrats whose job it is to advance this agenda within our schools, right? We don't have full-time people like focused on curriculum or reading specialists. We're going to tax taxpayers more to pay for people whose job it is to just push this ideology within our schools. And I think it just shows how embedded this has become, that it's not just about, like you said, John, it's not just about teaching Black history. It's not just about teaching history overall in a fair and honest way. Yeah. It's about advancing an agenda and having a full-time person on staff whose job it is to enforce this ideology and make sure it's incorporated into every aspect of a school system.
And Daniel, we wonder why China is kicking our butt in educational outcomes, and we wonder about all these other countries because you know what? They're actually preparing their kids to take over the world while we're preparing our kids to be to do just stupidity of the world, be the stupid
Right, it's
kids
about
of the world.
emotions.
But Daniel, I'm going to say this, and I've said this on my show, Black and Right, countless times. Until the white person looks a person in the face and says, "Shut up," I'm not going to allow that. I'm not just because I'm white. I'm not racist. I'm not prejudiced. You're the one that's racist. You're the one that's prejudiced, not me. And I don't care if you're Black, because Black people can be racist. But the way they've redesigned the definition of racism, you have to be, it used to be, you thought your race was superior than anybody else. That was just a plain simple. So that was anybody. But now they added a lever of power. You have to have a lever of power over the race. Well, here in Illinois, how many Black people are in positions of power?
They all are.
Exactly.
Mayor, Cook County State Security Board
Cook
President.
County Board
we can go on
President.
to Superintendent Brown.
Attorney
Kwame
General.
Raoul. Yeah, so it's not. I mean, do we live in a better place now?
Yeah, what were 4,500 people shot in the city of Chicago? Daniel?
Yeah, John, I think you're totally on the right track here. That the good news is our society has moved in a better direction. Right now, we aren't in the 1950s anymore. We're not in these segregated communities anymore. We live in places where we have people from a variety of backgrounds in positions of power. And I think one of the things I find so scary is when people start using their power to allocate government benefits based on race, right? So one of the things we've seen consistently coming out of Congress and the Biden administration and even some local governments is saying, well, if you can check a particular racial box, you can come to the front of the line for a COVID vaccine. If you can check a particular racial box, you can come to the front of the line for a restaurant loan to keep in business. If you check a right ratio box, we'll forgive your Department of Agriculture loans. If you don't check one of these boxes, you're out of luck.
Right.
But just the simple fact of checking this box that identifies you with this race, then you get this special treatment from the government. And so that's where these levers of power become scary,
Yeah.
is when the government starts allocating things that we pay for, things that we as taxpayers all subsidize together, and saying, just simply based on race, we're going to treat people differently in government programs. That's when those levers of power start getting used in ways that are not just wrong, they're unconstitutional.
You're listening to Daniel Suhr, managing attorney for Liberty Justice Center. Waking up to news this morning that a state senator in California is proposing to force all students to get vaccinated K through 12. The proposed law would add the COVID vaccine to the state's list of required school vaccinations. Hopefully that's not happening here in Illinois. That's always a possibility. But you're also planning to sue over Cook County and Chicago vaccine passports.
Yeah, absolutely, Amy. It is just so disappointing to see how freedom in Illinois, when you thought it could not be restricted any further, yet once again, we see this new order from Cook County and the city of Chicago that basically wants to say to people who choose to exercise their individual medical freedom to be unvaccinated, to say to those people, you are pariahs, you are outcasts, and we don't want you in society.
They're
Right?
murderers.
That's essentially what we're saying with this new system.
Yeah. So who do you
That's
need
just
to
wrong.
sue? So who do you need to sue, and why is this illegal?
Yeah, so we're going to sue the mayor and the Cook County. We have a number of claims. It is a violation of equal protection. It is a violation of religious liberty in the Cook County order. Get this, Amy. Under these orders, if you are a sports star or a musical celebrity and you come to Chicago, you don't have to be vaccinated or show your papers. You can be,
it's
on the
such
sidelines and
hypocrisy.
drinking Gatorade,
Uh-huh.
no problem. But if you're a person of faith who has a religious objection, you are out of luck, right? Like that double standard, there's no way that's going to hold up in court.
And how many clients do you have? Is it a class action lawsuit?
Yeah, so we already represent a number of citizens in both Cook and Chicago. But if you are listening right now and you especially own a restaurant or another business that is being impacted by these regulations, I'd love you to join Amy in the Daniel Suhr Client Club.
Yes.
I would love for you to contact us at libertyjusticecenter.org, libertyjusticecenter.org. Reach out to us if you want to join us in fighting back. We represent all our clients for free. It's part of our mission as a nonprofit organization, but we need people willing to stand with us in this fight for freedom, to step up and be willing to get in the fight. I always joke, the difference between a law review article and a case is a client.
Wow.
Right? I have
gotta
to
have
have
him on the
somebody
show.
who's willing to put their name on the line and get in this fight with me. So please, libertyjusticecenter.org.
Because it is scary. I mean, when you and I teamed up to sue Governor Pritzker, you're suing the governor of a state. And it's scary stuff, but you made it so simple and so easy, and because we knew the law was on our side. But again, it's libertyjusticecenter.org. You're one of the best in the business, and again, I wish you all the success in the world, and thank you so much, Daniel Suhr, for joining us.
Take care.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me on. Stay in the fight.
You
Okay,
too.
and again, it's libertyjusticecenter.org. Managing attorney Daniel Suhr.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well,